Scott McTominay's move to Napoli proved to be a masterstroke for both the player and the club. 27-year-old midfielder has been absolutely reborn in Serie A. He's become a driving force in Napoli's title charge under Antonio Conte. He sought a fresh start, leaving United last summer, quickly found his footing in Italy. Conte made McTominay a centrepiece of Napoli's midfield, stark contrast to the bit part role that he was playing at United. Napoli went on to clinch the Serie A championships on the final day, with McTominay scoring an unbelievable, spectacular overhead kick in the decisive match. He racked up 12 league goals and 4 assists in 34 appearances, and he finished as Serie A's top-scoring midfielder and winning the MVP. So, was selling Scott McTominay a mistake? I don't think it was. Now, under Conte's tutelage, McTominay evolved into a bit of a different midfielder than we saw. And Conte himself has praised Scott's growth. He says he feels more complete and more knowledgeable. He never had a real primary role at United, while we've given one here. And he also noted, freeing him from that squad player status, he's thrived on the responsibility. He said he's worked hard. He's now a complete player. And he credited his improvement for Napoli's success. And the player's own confidence is soaring. He said it didn't take long to make the decision to go to Napoli. I'd never have any regrets in my life when talking about United's exit, and talked about his drive to become as good as he can be. Now, clearly, the change of environment has unlocked a little bit of potential in McTominay. Watching him celebrate the Serie A title while United imploded domestically obviously isn't easy as United fans, and a lot of United fans, certainly the online mob, felt like United sold the wrong player, or it was a mistake to sell him. But if you have a look into the sort of nuances of this and the team dynamics and the tactics and all the rest of it, I think Napoli's success at United doesn't mean he was a solution that United needed. Now, under Conte, tactical context means a lot. At Napoli, Conte deployed him perfectly. He asked him to surge forward with the ball, to make late runs into the box, to utilise that 6'4" frame, his undeniable energy. His passing range isn't great. Conte has harnessed that by asking him to carry possession through the centre of the pitch. Napoli don't rely on him to be a deep lane playmaker. Instead, he's used very much box to box and very much as a raider and a crasher of the box. He breaks lines with drives and chips in with goals rather than dictates possession and tries to break lines and move the ball forward from deep. That plays to his strengths. He's athletic, he's direct, and he's tenacious. And it masks the limitations that he absolutely does have as a creative distributor. At United, by contrast, he was often a square peg in a round hole. Under Ten Hag, United's midfield blueprint required holding midfielders that could dictate tempo, take the ball from the defence, move it forward. Those roles last season were filled by Casemiro and Christian Eriksen. McTominay was trialled as a defensive midfielder at times, and he never looked comfortable when he was asked to play the ball forward. His positional discipline and his passing under pressure were questionable, and he struggled to pass the ball forward against organised defences. When United were trying to be a possession-based team, McTominay's tendency to play safe or sideways passes and occasionally heavy first touches were liabilities when we were trying to build out from the back. Furthermore, Bruno Fernandes was absolutely entrenched as United's number 10. And while Casemiro or Eriksen anchored the base, and even Kobbie Mainoo last season looked way more comfortable in that too, it left McTominay without any sort of a clear role. And he oscillated between duties. Sometimes he was a box-to-box partner, other times he was an emergency second striker. But he often found himself on the bench. The versatility became a double-edged sword. Useful as cover, not good enough to cement a starting place. And the tactical fit wasn't ideal. Obviously, Erik Ten Hag was fired mid-season and Ruben Amorim came in. Ruben Amorim plays a 3-4-3 with a double pivot, demanding midfielders who are very press-resistant, positionally sharp. And in that puzzle, McTominay still wouldn't have fit. There is an idea that if you are not pushing through your workouts, if you're getting enough sleep, eating right, then you should just feel fine. But sometimes, even if you're doing all of those things, your body isn't keeping up. And that was the case for me. There was tiredness, there was dips in focus, absolute lack of drive, and it didn't make sense. And then I found out that my testosterone levels were low. And actually, it explained everything. The TRT service has changed the game for me. And it wasn't overnight. It took a long time to get the levels right, but I definitely started to feel sharp again. I absolutely had more energy. There was better mood, stronger in the gym, and just more switched on in general. 1 in 4 men suffer from low testosterone, and most do not even know about it. And that's the reason that I'm working with Manual, because it is something that I absolutely use. You make the first step very easy for you. You do not need to second guess your symptoms. You do not need to let them control your life. You can order their at-home testosterone blood testing kit, and it's a quick finger prick, and it is done in minutes. Your results come back low, then you get access to their TRT service. And if it doesn't, well, you're going to have to figure out what else is going on. But if you do, their expert doctors are going to be on hand to help you. If you're over 30, the drop-off starts to happen gradually. You might think it's just life, but it could just be your hormones working against you. So if something feels off for you, and this is it, it's not for everybody, but if something does feel off for you, if you used to run at higher revs and now you don't let pride or habit stop you from sorting yourself out. Go and use my code, Stephen45, and you get 45% off their at-home testosterone blood test. Go to manual.co and take control of it. Honestly, it could be the start of you getting back to feeling like the old you again. When you look at McTominay versus Ugarte's had a lot of shit this season. He's still a significantly better suited player to the system that Manchester United want to play. And essentially, United did sell McTominay to fund the signing of Ugarte, someone who ultimately ended up working with the manager that we brought in mid-season. Now, Ugarte established himself as one of the top European ball winners. He was in the Portuguese Team of the Year for 22-23. PSG's sale of Ugarte to United for roughly 50 million gave us a chance to reunite him with Amorim when we appointed Amorim, and obviously he was very happy to have him back under his wing. On paper, Ugarte offers qualities that McTominay does not. He's a specialist destroyer known for tenacious tackling, for interceptions and shielding a back four. In Portugal, those ball-winning numbers were outstanding, reflection of the natural defensive instincts that he's got. And his passing game is simple, but it's pretty efficient, and it's probably still on a higher level than Scott McTominay offers. Win the ball, distribute it to the more creative teammates. And that's exactly the remit that United needed filling. By contrast, McTominay's defensive stats at United were pretty modest. He did excel in physical duels. He was pretty good in the air. Driving forward was usually his thing rather than reading danger or dictating play from deep. And it's a massive contrast in profiles. Ugarte, elite ball-winning player, whereas McTominay was very much a utility box-to-box player. So given a little bit of the context of why United wanted to bring in Ugarte and why maybe Scott McTominay was not the answer, I don't think selling Scott McTominay was the mistake that people are trying to call it with hindsight because of the excellent season Scott's had in Napoli. I think it was a calculated decision that made sense at the time. Erik Ten Hag didn't want to sell him. He acknowledged that Scott was important, but conceded that, for everyone, for all parts, it was a good deal. He was never going to be a first-choice player at United, and obviously Napoli were very happy with it at the time, and it's probably even more so now. He's been really taken to by the fans in Naples. United did need to raise funds, partially to comply with financial fair play rules, partially because PSR calls him a pure profit, partially because there was a better tactical fit for us in Ugarte. McTominay helped balance the books. And people from inside the club are saying that even though Ten Hag didn't want to lose McTominay, selling him was the only way to generate funds that would have cleared PSR for us, which we scraped through by the skin of our teeth. McTominay's success at Napoli does not mean he would have had the same heights if he stayed at United. And actually, I think with Ruben Amorim coming in, there probably was more chance of him playing, especially towards that middle point of the season when there was only Garnacho and Højlund fit. You might have seen him deployed as a bit of an emergency number 9. You might have seen him deployed as one of those sort of inside forward 10s, looking to crash the box, put pressure on people, basically be like a 6-foot version of what Mason Mount does, but maybe not quite as cute with the ball. I think there was probably opportunity for him to play, but he didn't want to be here. And I think that's the biggest factor in all of this lot. He wanted to go, and he wanted to make that move. And that move was absolutely the making of him. A chance to grow as a footballer away from the comfort zone of the academy that he's been in. And from United's perspective, we needed to move on. In a decade of what's been questionable at best and criminal at worst when it comes to the recruitment decisions at United, the sale of Scott McTominay on the surface of things looks like a mistake. But I actually think it's one of those that was good for all involved. It's benefited McTominay's career. It gave United resources that we absolutely needed to pass PSR and bring in Ugarte. The club maybe could have managed the transition better. Maybe we could have managed McTominay better. I think when you see McTominay's best moments at United, like he always had an eye for goal. And he always had an eye for a spectacular goal. I remember the game before we got locked down for COVID. He scored that one against City from far out. He's always chipped in with pretty important goals. And his professionalism's never been something that's in question. When you look at where he would have played, he just wouldn't have. That's the top and bottom of it. United needed midfielders that were tailored to our needs. Yes, he might have ended up playing, probably would have done a better job as a 9 than Højlund ended up doing towards the back end of the season. But the decision was sound. It was sound at the time. It's still sound now. United's mistake wasn't in selling McTominay. It was in failing to bring in other players in other areas. We shouldn't have been reliant on McTominay to score goals for us. We should have had the forward line capable of doing it. The fact that we had 3 wingers, 3, 80 to 100 million pound valued wingers at the club that weren't at the club in Anthony, Sancho and Rashford is probably more of a reason why we didn't score enough goals than having McTominay sold to Napoli. But either way, he's gone to Serie A. He's got some newfound stardom. He's got a title under his belt. He's got an MVP under his belt. And I would just say to him, well done. McTominay himself says he's got no regrets about leaving. And I don't think United fans should have either. Just wish him luck and see it as a success of Manchester United's academy, because that's exactly what it is. So well done to Scott on being Serie A, MPV, or MVP even, and on winning the title. But I can't say that it was a mistake to sell him. Let me know your thoughts. You probably disagree. And if you do, that's fine. It's all about opinions. See you in the next one. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, 5-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.